Module 3, Lobbying Techniques, Legislative Engagement, and Policy Influence. 1. Module Overview. Module 3 focuses on the mechanisms, strategies, and best practices for lobbying, providing learners with the knowledge and tools to influence legislation, regulatory processes, and policy decisions ethically and effectively. Building on modules 1 and 2, this module examines direct and indirect lobbying, legislative engagement, policy advocacy, and the interplay between interest groups and decision makers. You will explore structured approaches to lobbying, including relationship building, evidence-based persuasion, negotiation, and coalition mobilization, and understand how lobbying differs from general advocacy. This module emphasizes practical, professional, and ethical approaches to navigating complex policy landscapes. 2. Conceptualizing Lobbying. 2.1 Defining Lobbying. Lobbying is the strategic engagement with policymakers and influencers to shape legislation, regulation, or government action in favor of specific interests. It involves direct interactions with lawmakers, legislators, bureaucrats, and advisors, providing research, evidence, and recommendations to influence policy. Building alliances and coalitions to strengthen lobbying efforts. 2.2 The role of lobbyists, policy experts, translating technical data and research into actionable policy recommendations. Relationship managers, maintaining regular contact with key decision makers. Strategic communicators, crafting messages that resonate with political, bureaucratic, and public audiences. Ethical advocates, ensuring compliance with legal regulations and professional ethical standards. 3. Types of lobbying techniques. Effective lobbying requires multifaceted strategies tailored to target audiences and contexts. 3.1 Direct lobbying. Legislative meetings. Engaging lawmakers personally to present policy positions or proposals. Policy briefings, providing structured, evidence-based reports highlighting issues, implications, and recommendations. Testimony and hearings, participating in public hearings or committee sessions to advocate for or against legislation. 3.2 Indirect lobbying. Media and public campaigns, using traditional and digital media to shape public opinion, indirectly influencing policymakers. Grassroots mobilization, organizing constituents to contact legislators or participate in demonstrations, petitions, or campaigns. Coalition advocacy, partnering with other interest groups to amplify influence and leverage collective authority. 3.3 Regulatory and administrative lobbying. Engaging regulatory agencies during rulemaking or policy interpretation processes, providing technical input, feedback, or evidence to shape implementation guidelines, monitoring administrative decisions to ensure alignment with advocacy goals. 4. Legislative engagement strategies. Effective lobbying depends on understanding the legislative process and identifying points of influence. 4.1 Understanding policy cycles. Agenda setting. Lobbying to prioritize issues for legislative or policy consideration. Policy formulation, influencing the design, wording, and scope of legislation. Decision-making, engaging legislators, committees, or advisory bodies before voting. Implementation, monitoring the execution of policies and providing feedback. Evaluation and oversight, ensuring policy outcomes align with advocacy objectives. 4.2 Key engagement practices. Stakeholder mapping, identifying champions, neutral actors, and potential opponents in legislative bodies. Relationship building, establishing trust, credibility, and long-term connections with policymakers. Tailored communication, using persuasive messaging adapted to political priorities and values. Timing and strategy, aligning lobbying efforts with policy windows and legislative calendars. 5. Coalition building and multi-stakeholder influence. Lobbying is more effective when conducted through strategic alliances and partnerships, multi-group coalitions, partnering with organizations sharing similar objectives to maximize reach and legitimacy, cross-sector collaboration, engaging NGOs, business associations, media, and civil society to strengthen influence, international networks, leveraging transnational advocacy groups or global policy platforms for broader impact. 6. Evidence-based lobbying. Modern lobbying relies heavily on research, data, and analytics, policy research and analysis, using empirical evidence to justify positions. Impact assessment, demonstrating potential societal, economic, or environmental outcomes. Data visualization, presenting research findings in accessible formats for policymakers. Monitoring legislative changes, tracking policy developments to adjust lobbying strategies proactively. 7. Ethical, legal, and professional standards module. 3. Emphasizes ethical and legal compliance, critical to legitimate lobbying, transparency, clearly disclosing objectives, sources of funding, and methods. Accountability, reporting lobbying activities to appropriate regulatory or governmental bodies. Conflict of interest management, avoiding undue influence or personal gain. Ethical negotiation, engaging policymakers without coercion, manipulation, or misrepresentation. 8. Learning outcomes for Module 3. By the end of Module 3, you will be able to define lobbying and distinguish it from general advocacy, identify and apply direct, indirect, and regulatory lobbying techniques effectively, understand legislative processes, and determine optimal points of policy influence. Build coalitions and multi-stakeholder alliances to amplify lobbying impact. Utilize research, data, and evidence to support policy arguments and advocacy objectives. Adhere to ethical, legal, and professional standards in lobbying practices.